So as you probably know by now, we are moving to Orlando, Florida. If you haven't checked out that video, we'll link it down below and up in the corner. But the secret is out. We are moving to Orlando, Florida. And in today's video, we are gonna go over the initial steps that we took to figure out where we wanna live, why we wanted to move down to Orlando, Florida, so that we can help you guys out if you're thinking about making the move as well.
So this is going to be the first video of many documenting why we wanted to move to Orlando and the entire process to help some of you guys out if you are also thinking about moving to Orlando. But first we want to touch on why we're moving to Orlando. Why did we want to initially do this in the first place? And most of you guys know we both did the college program back in 2013. So Matt and I actually lived in Orlando for about a year working for Walt Disney World. And ever since being together, we kind of always talked about and like dreamed about maybe going back down and living there. And as you guys know, we just got married and we were in the process of looking for a house up here in the tri-state area, but it kind of just like was the right time. And we were like, all right, let's think about actually doing this. So we started the process of looking, but we really wanted to move down. Obviously, being close to Walt Disney World is a huge factor.
Right.
We both love Walt Disney World, and Florida itself is so beautiful. The housing market up here in the tri-state area is very, very expensive. So we started to look like on Zillow at houses up here, and nothing was catching our eye, to say the least. Whatever we would get, we would have to put a ton of work in. We would be paying very, very expensive prices.
And high taxes too.
And high taxes for what we would want. And most of you know Florida is a lot cheaper to live.
Yes.
And we would probably be able to get exactly what we wanted, either very new, or just at a way lower cost than what it would be up here.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first things, and that's really for anybody who's figuring out where they want to live is, what is the cost of living going to be like? And like Alex said, we're from the tri-state area. Very expensive to live here, especially for young couples just starting out. And like Alex said, we always had the itch to get back down to the Orlando area ever since we left the college program. Why don't we at least look at Florida? So that's kind of like where we initially started. So that was months and months ago, if not a year ago. And we were always, poking around on Zillow, just trying to see what we can get for, particular price points. And we saw we can get a lot more for our money down there. Now the housing market down there, if you guys are thinking about moving, is just as crazy as it is up here. As far as competitiveness and the cost of the homes, it's gone up tremendously, especially since COVID and a lot more people moving down south. But that was kind of like the first step that we took. And then once we finally decided we're actually gonna do this, we did something that I would recommend everybody who's thinking about moving to Florida to do, and that is to take a scouting trip.
So Matt and I decided to go down in February for about a week, and we rented an Airbnb in the Claremont area just so we could kind of see like what towns we really liked. We rented a car, we stayed at the Airbnb for a week, we drove around different areas. For example, we looked at Winter Garden, Claremont, Windermere, Hunters Creek, a bunch of just those surrounding areas around Orlando, just to get a feel of like where we could picture ourselves living.
Right, and I recommend that 10 times over if you're able to do it. I work remotely. Alex is a teacher and was on school break at the time, so it just worked out perfectly. So if you either work remote or if you are a teacher like Alex is and can go get down there during a break, we definitely recommend you doing that because you can only see so much on sites like Zillow and Realtor or even YouTube videos, for example. We watched a ton of YouTube videos, but there's only so much and so much of a feel you can get from seeing it through the eyes of somebody else. So we decided we want to go down, and we spent a couple of days in each area just driving around, checking out some of the restaurants there, having lunch, going to the coffee shops, just trying to get a sense of what the community was like in a lot of these areas. And it was super helpful for us in deciding ultimately where we ended up living, or going to live, I should say. So if you have the opportunity to do that, we definitely recommend it. So we did that in February, and we had a really good sense after those 10 days of where we could see ourselves living. And it was a lot of the areas that Alex had mentioned previously, in that Winter Garden, Claremont, Windermere area. And we came home and we knew where we didn't like and we knew, what we did like. So we sat down and we eliminated a bunch of things and we decided we need to go back again. We need more time.
Yep.
So we went back down again in March. Again, we stayed with friends that live in the area and we did exactly the same thing. We went to the areas that we narrowed it down to and we decided ultimately on where we were going to live. And between those two trips, we spent probably a total of a little over 2 weeks between the two, as far as days goes, just scouting out the areas and trying to get a sense for it. Because like I said, you can only really get so much of a sense from like videos and photos and stuff.
Yeah, and what really helped us too, like Matt said, we stayed with some friends that live in the area, so that was a really big help too. They brought us around to all different towns, they kind of pointed out where everything was, and they also hooked us up with a realtor.
Yes.
So on that second trip, the realtor kind of brought us around to different resale homes and also new build companies. So what we did was we kind of eliminated very fast the resale homes.
Yep.
Because the market is so crazy right now that if we found a retail home or a resale home that we loved, we would have to put a bid on it very quickly. The bids were going way over asking price.
Yep.
And a lot of people were getting into bidding wars. Now, like you guys know, we're from the tri-state area, so if we didn't get that house, like when we were down in Florida, we would be having to put bids in without even seeing the homes.
Right, which is
if we were
insane.
up here. Yeah, which we definitely didn't want to do. So we kind of eliminated that very quickly.
You have to be ready to go if you're buying a resale home, at least in this current market,
Right.
kind of at the drop of a hat. And we weren't ready to go right away.
Right.
We had some obligations we had to finish out up here and everything like that. So we had ourselves, give or take a year timeline before we were actually going to go down.
Right.
So if we were to buy a resale home, essentially we would have a house that would just sit there for a year. And that's obviously, something you wouldn't do. So that was another big reason why we kind of, eliminated resale homes and, like Alex is going to get to, focused on new build communities.
Right, so then once we eliminated the resale homes, the realtor really focused on the new build companies. So what we did is we went and looked at a ton of these companies. Like we went and saw all of them.
We saw everything that you can possibly see
Right.
in the Orlando area.
And
There's a lot.
yeah, like Lennar, David Weekley, Dream Finders, Kay Hovanian,
D.R. Horton.
Yeah, literally
Everyone.
we looked at all of them. And it was a whirlwind. Like
Yeah.
Matt and I at the end of the day would sometimes be like, oh, that house was nice, and we would but which builder was that? Like we completely forgot what we even saw. But
Yeah.
when we were walking into some of them, we got to the point where we could quickly eliminate and be like,
Yes.
this is not our taste, like they weren't a good builder, we didn't like them. So after a while you do get a sense of like who the good builders are, who, if they are in your price range, like who
Right.
the better ones you want to go with are. So we looked at a ton of them. We also really liked looking at like the communities itself too. So we went and looked at the model homes. We would drive around the communities to get a sense of like what it felt like to live there.
And throughout that entire process, we had our realtor with us. And on the days that she couldn't be with us, we would put her down as our contact if you put down your information. Now, why are we telling you this? We are not realtors by any means. We just want to say that. We should have said that in the beginning of the video. But we really recommend you go out with a realtor. They fight for you for a lot of different things. We've had multiple friends build homes in Orlando, and there's always something that pops up. And the realtor is kind of like your ally. It doesn't cost you anything. You're not paying any extra. You're not paying any fees to the realtor. They're paid by the builder when you purchase the home. So no expense out of your pocket, and it's like having almost like a little mini lawyer in your corner.
Yeah, highly
to fight.
recommend having one.
Yeah,
with you.
I would not even consider buying a home without a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
You should not do that because then you're essentially assuming that the builder is going to have your best interest in mind at all times.
And they're
And we
not.
know that's not the case. They have a business to run. So the realtor was with us the entire time, and on the days that she couldn't be with us, if we were filling out any paperwork, make sure you put them down, because it sounds crazy to say this, but if your realtor is not with you, or you give your contact information and you don't give your realtor's contact information, if you come back to that builder to buy a home, they won't let you purchase with a realtor. Crazy, I know. It's ridiculous, but that's just how it is.
And they're very strict with that too.
Very strict with that. So if your realtor is not with you, make sure you put down all their contact info. If you don't do that, then you're not going to be able to come back and buy a home with a realtor. So just word to the wise there. But she was great. She filled us in on a lot of different things that we wouldn't necessarily know of or think of.
Especially as first-time home buyers.
Right.
Matt and I didn't really know what we were looking at, what to look for, so having her was really, really helpful.
Super helpful. And, as we moved from community to community, we really started to realize, like, for the same amount of money we can get a resale home, we could, give or take a little bit, of course, we could build ourselves a new home. So if we're going to
exactly what we want.
Right. If we're going to spend that money anyway, and we have the time to kill, so we had that year window, might as well build a new home that no one's ever lived in before. It costs roughly the same amount of money, depending on the house that you're looking at, obviously, if it's a resale. So we decided to go with a new build. It was pretty much a no-brainer for us, just based on the cost and our timeline. And now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we saw when dealing with some of the builders that we were looking at. So at the time of recording this video, the housing market in Orlando is so crazy. There's thousands and thousands of people that are moving to Florida every single day, and it's hard to keep up with the demand. So some of the builders were doing some things that we didn't really like versus some other builders that, in our opinion, were doing things the right way. What do we mean by that? So when you buy a home, the first thing that you kind of need to know, aside from, after you decide where you want to settle, is you're going to choose your lot within that community.
Right.
One of the first costs that is going to come your way is what the lot premium is. Now, a lot premium is essentially the amount of money that you need to pay the builder just to be able to purchase that home lot. It's a money grab on the builder's part. They're charging you a fee to be able to purchase that lot. Now, some builders had what we would consider very low lot premiums.
Yeah.
$5,000, $7,000. That might sound like a lot of money if this is a new thing to you, but most of the other builders were $30,000 or above.
Right.
And some of them were ridiculously high, like $50,000 and $60,000, just to purchase the land. That does not count towards the cost of your home.
No.
So whatever the home cost was, add 50 or 60K to it, and now that's the new cost of your home. So this is something that is very, very common, especially in this area with everything going on. It's a way for the builders to squeeze you for a little bit more money, if I'm being honest, and that's essentially what it is. So a lot of these builders had very, very high lot premiums. Some of the builders, and I'm gonna call them out specifically, D.R. Horton over at the Waterley community within Winter Garden. Waterley was a community that we very much thought we were gonna end up in. It had a lot of really good amenities. It seemed like a really good sense of community. And we kind of had our heart set on Waterley before we even saw it, just based off what we saw online. Now, just due to the demand, what D.R. Horton was doing at the time, now again, if you're watching this a couple years in the future, this might not be the case anymore, but as of 2021, when we were looking, they were basically building the homes and then opening up bidding on the new homes. So you're essentially buying a resale home brand new. You don't get to a spec home.
They call them spec homes.
Right.
They build it however they want to build it, meaning you have no say in the design, the structural, nothing. They just build it how they want to build it, and then they put it up, and you basically get into a bidding war over it.
For a home that's a new build.
Right.
So they're taking new builds and basically running their business as resale homes. Which to me defeats the entire purpose of building a new home. You want to be able to choose things.
Yeah, you want to make it. Yeah, you want to make it how you want to make it.
Right. So needless to say, we walked right out of Waterley. We ran out of Waterley, I should say.
Now, there's also other builders that are doing wait lists.
Yes, like Taylor Morrison.
Taylor Morrison had wait lists for almost every community that we saw with them, meaning they put you on a wait list. And every few lots that are sold, the price keeps increasing and increasing and increasing on the house that you want. And you're also not locked in. Like,
no.
You might get called a year from now, or you might not get called at all.
Right.
And a year from now, the house that you were looking at say $500K, could then be up to like
550
or more.
575. And
right.
just because you were on the wait list doesn't mean anything. It's whatever the cost is at the time that they call you.
Right.
So we weren't going to do that because we found that to be silly too, because A, you don't know if you're ever going to get called, and B, when they do call you, it's going to be more expensive of a house. So why would I go on a wait list for a home when I can find other builders that aren't doing wait lists, that are still building quality homes? So now pair this whole wait list thing and spec homes and lot premiums through the roof. We got a little bit discouraged. We were like, okay, we were here for 10 days in February. We're back again in March. We can't go home and have to come back again and take more time off of work or whatever it may be, spend more money to get down here. We want to go home with a sense of what we're doing. So along came the builder that we ultimately decided to build with, and that is Dreamfinders Homes. We went to go check out a few homes in one of their winter garden communities. They're building communities all over Orlando, by the way. They're in Claremont, they're in Howey in the Hills, they're all over the place. Winter Garden.
There's a few new communities in Winter Garden that they're building, actually.
Yeah. So we went there, and we heard a lot of really good things about Dreamfinders Homes from other people that have built with them, just forums online and Facebook groups. And they were doing things that other builders were not doing, like charging ridiculous lot premium fees, wait lists. You were able to, not get a spec home. You were actually able to go to a design studio and choose everything. So that was something that really, really appealed to us. And also, we want to put a pool in our home. Right. And they're one of the few builders that lets the pool be built and installed while your house is being built, so that you don't have to do it after the fact. Not every builder does that. If
that's something that you're interested in, you really need to ask that when you are looking at these model homes and talking to the builders, because a lot of them don't let you do that.
No,
there
most
was
don't.
Only maybe 2 or 3 that we came across that will let you do that.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So if a pool is important to you, having it built at the time of construction is a big thing, because if they come in after the fact, the houses are pretty close together in Florida. You don't have a whole lot of property within the Orlando area and these communities that we're mentioning. And they're gonna have to come in on the sides of your house, come on your neighbor's property, dig up some on your neighbor's side, and then you're gonna have to pay to repair the mess that they made. You're gonna have to pay for whatever damage is done to your neighbor's property.
Just seems like more of a headache than it needs to be. Just let them build the pool while the house is being built, and then everything is all done and ready to move into.
Right, that's the plan. So between the pool thing, the lot premiums were very low at the time that we purchased. The lot premium on our home was $5,000, which again might be like, oh, it's ridiculous you had to pay that. But when you compare it to 30, 40, 50, 60K, it's basically nothing.
And there was a builder that we went and looked at that wanted $60K for a lot premium.
Yeah, so they were doing a lot of the right things, and the people there were great.
We also just fell in love with the model homes too.
Yes.
When we walked into their model homes, they were beautiful. That was some of my favorite model homes that we saw, and we saw a ton of them.
Yes.
So we really, really liked what we saw. The designs were beautiful.
Yeah, great floor plans.
Yeah.
They checked all the boxes for us. They were everything that we were looking for, along with, up until this point, really good service as well. Everyone we've dealt with has been really good. Our realtor has said that they're one of their favorite builders in Florida, and especially in the Orlando area. So everything kind of lined up right. And when they told us the estimated turnaround time for the house, it fit our timeline. It's about 10 months from when they start working on the home. So that fit perfectly for us.
Yeah.
So they checked all the boxes, and we decided to go with Dreamfinders Homes. That is who we are building with in the Orlando area. And like I said, if you want to check out Dreamfinders, we'll leave a link down in the description below that links to their site. You can check out all the different communities that they have. And if you're moving to the Orlando area, our house is not built yet at the time of filming this. They're still in the early stages, but we've had a really good experience so
Yeah.
far. Now this, like we said in the beginning of the video, there's gonna be a ton of these type of videos that are coming out. We're gonna kind of document and review and talk about every step of our build process and move process. So this was kind of our, where do we begin type of video. And the next video that comes out, we're gonna talk about what it was like choosing all of our structural upgrades, going to the design studio and picking out everything inside the house, which was a lot of fun. Definitely an overwhelming day, but it was a lot of fun. So again, if you guys are thinking about moving to Orlando or are in the process of moving to Orlando and you just kind of want to follow us and see what our journey's like, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below because there's going to be so many more of these videos to come in the future. So with that being said, we hope you guys enjoyed this video. We hope you found it helpful. And if you guys are thinking about moving to the Orlando area, our biggest takeaways are definitely get down there and do scouting trips. They're super, super helpful and it gives you a real sense of, can I imagine myself living here? And then do your homework on these builders if you're deciding to go with a new build house within a new build community.
And find yourself a good realtor.
Absolutely. Do not buy a home without a realtor. Like I said before, no cost to you, so there's no negative to it at all.
And you have someone that's going to back you on every decision throughout the process.
Yeah, for sure. So can't recommend those three things enough. So again, if you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, give it a nice big thumbs up. If you guys are new here, hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on any of our videos within our Moving to Orlando series that's going to be taking place over the next year and beyond once we are living there. And with that being said, we'll see you guys real soon.